But having been here before, and we spoke about this last week too, Stephen. You know, the coalition line, they're going to attack the integrity, the broken promise, the broken promise, the broken promise. That's going to be right up to the election, which, you know, the government obviously feels like it can sustain. But how damaged is that repeated message going to be for him? How much skin is he going to keep losing over that?
I think if the coalition are able to land that, if their objective is quick, we've just got to get the tax cut issue off the table. For God's sake, we don't want to talk about the tax cut anymore because we voted for it. But what we want to do is build a narrative over the next 18 months that you can't trust the Prime Minister. That's what they've got to try and aim for. They want no distractions on we're going to restore the tax cut. I mean, there's a lot of pressure inside that party room saying you've got to commit. Now, this is our solemn promise. We've got to commit to restore this. The problem they then got going forward is that, let's say it's about $28-30 billion of expenditure going into the next election. They're promising for the wealthiest 20% of people in Australia. So their real challenge is not just we've got to vote for this, we're breaking our own promise. It's we can't lock. If our single biggest spending commitment, our biggest promise going into the next election is to restore $28-30 billion to the wealthiest 20% of Australians, that's a very difficult message. So what they've got to do is get it off the table, not promise to restore it, because that would be a very difficult sell at the next election. Stick to the message that Albo can't be trusted. That's got to be their message. And while the overwhelming number of Australians are supporting this, that will be blunted. They will need to prosecute that case. They will need the government to make some changes to other policies so they can build not just on a one-off. They've got to try and sustain it on 2 or 3 issues. I think, the government, Albo, are going to be across that. They're not going to let themselves be exposed. They've got the vast majority of Australians behind them on this change, but it would be careful. They'd have to be very careful if they were going to, change policies that they promised going into the last election.
All righty.
This.